Welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. I have a garden tour for you today. I haven't showed you the garden in a couple weeks and I'm actually quite surprised that there is quite a lot of growth. We're going to do a little bit of harvesting. I wanted to catch you up on the mushrooms. So last week I harvested and freeze-dried some of these blue oyster mushrooms. I was told that I could re-soak these mushroom blocks and get subsequent harvests. And as you can see, that's working out quite well. This particular block had this beautiful cluster to push out, and so this is going to be harvested obviously before these, but in about a week's time, maybe even a little less, these guys are going to be harvested as well. There's actually quite a few tiny little clusters in here. Can you see that? And over here I have our lion's mane mushrooms, which are making an appearance, and these won't be long before they're harvested as well. I have some lion's mane in buckets, and this isn't going as well. These are turning brown basically as soon as they pop out. Can you see that? I don't know, maybe they'll be okay. There's quite a few different spots where they're popping out. I've been in contact with my mushroom guy about that, and at first we assumed it was because I had been misting the lion's mane mushroom. Apparently lion's mane doesn't like that. But I haven't misted in a while and they're still kind of looking funny, so I need to inquire about that. I've just been misting the oyster blocks down a couple times a day, just so they don't dry out. Hi, sir. Inside my house, I have the pink oyster mushroom block. These mushrooms like the temperature to be a little bit warmer than I keep my shed. The shed is about 60 degrees. Our house is in the mid 70s. That's perfect for these guys. I did already make one harvest off of this block, and I'll put a picture of that right here. I have recently re-soaked this block, and so we're just waiting on the second flush. If you haven't been around the channel very long, you may not be familiar with our seed starting setup. This is all it is. I have these LED shop lights here, and there's two of them right next to each other, and I can fit two 10-20 trays underneath. So I've started in here our spring frost tolerant garden. This entire tray here is broccoli, and I've got different types of kale over here and a little bit of red cabbage on the end. I like to start my early spring garden towards the end of December so that I can put it out at the end of February. Our summers come on really hot and fast, and so that's the best way that I've found to get a crop out of things like broccoli. These two beds here in the front in the raised bed garden where I stuck a couple things in. It really hasn't seen much change at all in growth. I happen to know that these beds are quite starved for nutrition, but it's also quite cold. A lot of things, even though they can be frost tolerant and they can handle the cold, they slow way down when it's cold, and of course when the days are shorter. So there's a combination of things going on in here. I don't think we're going to get harvests out of this or any more harvests out of these beds, but that's okay. I need to just put manure and some mulch on top of that and let it rest. I do have some elephant garlic popped up in here, and we won't harvest this until probably early or late spring. I did, however, do a little bit of work back here. This is where we have grown a lot of asparagus in the past. Over here is the strawberry bed. You can see our strawberries are looking, they're okay, they're there. They exist. The strawberries had gotten shaded out by an immense amount of weeds that I let grow over here over the summer, but we've unearthed them, and I actually do have some strawberries hanging around over here that I can plug in some of the empty spots, but I'm gonna do that on another day. Exhibit A, so I noticed that there are some strawberries over here. So this wild patch, this was the kids' garden last year. I'm going to revamp this for this coming garden season, but they did plant some strawberries along the edge of the fence here, and it looks like they've done what strawberries do and have started to spread on this side of the fence. So yeah, there's some here, some back here. So I'm going to be taking these up and putting them over here, but I'm gonna wait on that. We are gonna get some pretty cold temps this week, and I don't want to disturb them. They're going to have a better chance of getting through that if I just leave them alone. Anywho, back to the asparagus bed. I've done quite a lot of work. I took out the old spent asparagus fronds, And I did actually put down some wine cap mushroom spawn in this bed. And then I layered on some hardwood bark mulch on top of that. We've been getting a lot of rain, so I think that that mushroom spawn is going to work in and establish quite well. And we should have a really fun symbiotic relationship between the asparagus and the mushrooms come springtime. Here are the old dead fronds. There's nothing left to these. These guys were green and lush all year round, and then when the winter comes, they put all of that energy back down into the crown, which remains underneath the soil. I was going to use that energy to poke up even more asparagus this year than it did last year, and we should start seeing the first little asparagus little spears coming up in about March. This bed over here, though, I've dedicated this just to wine cap mushrooms, and we'll see these maybe towards the end of spring. It's kind of a mess, but it is what it is. I am a little bit slow in cleaning up the garden at the end of the year, especially when it is the coldest that it gets here, which it has not gotten there yet, but it's coming. I have a lot more energy to deal with the garden and cleaning it up in the late winter, early spring. Hello, sweet girl. Why don't you go hang out with your friends? You want to go hang out with your friends? Did you guys run out of hay? Hang on, I'll fix it. There we go. Come on, Clover. Let's go eat egg. Margie, mayhem. Mayhem. We gave you one. I have it on camera. I have it on camera. How's your bowl? You have to eat this. You have to eat this. That's food. Nope. You go eat your crunchies. I've been trying to teach him to speak, and that's what he's trying to do. That's a good try, but you need to go eat your crunchies. I love you. Good morning, you two. How are you lovebirds doing? Sometimes the door freezes shut. There we go. Can you hear that? It's a condensation rain happening inside. Which, when I put these animal hides in here, I forgot that condensation rain was a thing. Just trying to keep them away from the dog. So there's actually a lot of growth that's been happening here in the greenhouse. So this here is our row of Brussels sprouts. We've got cauliflower here, and behind that is some broccoli. I had been worried since how warm our fall has been that the broccoli might just bolt or go to seed, but I thought I remembered planting a heat-tolerant variety of broccoli, and it looks like they're not going to go to flower, which is great. So if a broccoli is going to go to flower, a lot of times you'll see the stalk right in the center of the plant just get really long and tall. You can see the center of the plant is tucked down in there really well. So this should form a head. Sometimes plants that form a head, like broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage, they will slow down during the winter like I talked about, and then they'll pick back up in the springtime when it warms up again. Here in the greenhouse, it is quite warm during the day, especially with the sides down and when the sun is out. So we should be able to bypass that and get broccoli possibly in February. We're gonna have to just see. I think that the cauliflower is gonna give us a head much sooner. I have been peeking down in here, but I haven't noticed anything forming quite yet, but they're getting big. The Brussels sprouts are getting big as well. You can see them down here. They're not quite big enough where I want to harvest them yet. Let them get a little bit bigger. Over here on the trellis, we've got some shelling peas, and they have had quite a few flowers on them. As you can see, the pods that I've seen come on really have not been filling up with peas. I'm kind of wondering if this is a pollination thing. I'm not quite sure. I thought that peas were self-fertile. And what I mean by that is that they could, like each blossom itself could pollinate itself just with a little bit of air movement. I know that tomatoes are that way, peppers are that way. I am beginning to wonder about the peas though. So over here in the carrot and rutabaga bed, this is where we're going to be doing some harvesting today. I want to put parsnips in this bed, but I really need to fill it up a little bit more in order to get a decent sized parsnip. When we filled this bed, we used the hugelkultur method to take up space in here. So the bottom has logs, and then I did put down some wood mulch, and we put down some hay, and then the top, I don't know, maybe it's 5 or 6 inches, maybe a little bit more initially, was compost that we made here from, you know, decomposing manures and kitchen scraps and things. And everything has really compressed over the course of time. And so there's about that much that I need to fill back up. And so really with the amount of compost that is in there plus filling it up, I'll probably get about a foot's worth of like actual growing material, and that will help support a root system pretty well. Because right now the carrots, it's actually comical. Here we go. See, they're good and wide, they just don't have a lot of length to them, and this is just because there's not a lot of growing material for them to put down a nice deep tap root. So we'll have a lot of little stubby carrots going in the basket today. Over here we have some rutabagas, and these actually look really good. Look at that chunker down there, we'll grab it. There. See that? And a lot of this success is due to the fact that the rutabaga really mostly grows this bulb up above the soil. It doesn't have like a deeper taproot, and it doesn't consist of being a deeper taproot. So we've got nice sized rutabagas out of this bed. I might just stick these over here for now. Is that gonna work? Maybe you want to be over here. Let's go. I haven't watered in this bed in a little while, so it's going to make harvesting a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner. I'll be able to brush off soil. I will also rinse these, but aren't they pretty? A couple of the rutabaga plants really haven't put on much root. There's a couple reasons that could be. And you can eat the greens. So I could harvest these greens and wilt them down and eat them with a dinner. But what I'm going to choose to do with these particular greens, because I know this bed is going to need some more amending and organic compost, is I'm just going to break these up and throw them back down into the bed. It's going to help feed the soil, and it still puts these rutabagas to great use, to excellent use. All right, there's quite a few weeds in amongst the carrots, but we will do our best. Oh, that one's not bad. Not too shabby. So this is actually a better harvest than I was expecting. very happily it's not going to fit in my harvest basket. And actually quite a few carrots were a lot longer than I expected. I noticed that there was a variety of carrot that I planted that did wind up finding its way deeper into the soil. I don't remember offhand, but I'll put the name of both carrots that I planted down in the words below. This was absolutely a success. This was a first year garden space, this bed was. And anytime you plant something in a place that hasn't been planted at all before, you really need to be aware that it doesn't always work out well. The best spaces for growing have been cultivated and worked and developed over years, and so to get this out of a first year garden space is absolutely a success. Ugh. But here's the bed as it stands empty. These were all weeds, and you can tell that there's a lot of space left to fill. I am going to go ahead and purchase some raised bed soil or some potting mix to put in here. I'll be putting a little bit of our compost from the barn, our rabbit manure in here, and we'll do that together, and we'll plant the parsnips on another day. But I'm going to leave them like this for now. I want, you know, these, woo, look. Wow, maybe I should pick through this. Holy cow. I'm gonna leave these like this for now. Hopefully the sun will bake these down and kill these weeds, and then they can provide nutrition to the bed, just like these rutabagas. In order to store these, what I'm gonna do is actually snap off the tops like this. I'm just gonna put them unwashed in a bag in my refrigerator for now until I can wash them and chop them and freeze them. I have seen people store roots long term in like a root cellar with a little bit of damp sand. I have never gotten a harvest big enough where it warranted something like that. A couple gallon size bag in the fridge until I can chop them up and freeze them works really well. And you can actually use these carrot tops to make a carrot top pesto. I've never done that. I don't know that I'm gonna do that this time. For some reason, carrots in pasta doesn't seem like an appealing flavor to me, but what we will do is feed these to the rabbits. So it looks like with the tops off, things do fit in the harvest basket pretty well. So a lot of people might look at a smallish carrot harvest like this with smaller roots and think, was this really worth it? Is this really a success? And I think, honestly, success is relative, but there's a couple of things that you need to think about beyond this harvest when you think about or you try to quantify success. As I mentioned, it's a first year space. There's really hit or miss out of a space the first time you use it. And so these carrots, while they are a little bit small, they have acted to kind of develop that soil, to break it in, to allow a spot for certain soil microbes to be able to live and proliferate and improve the bed with time. We did get a harvest. This is actually the best carrot harvest that I've ever gotten. I have not had much success with carrots in the past. So the carrots did work growing the bed, establishing the bed. They did work in just growing themselves and providing a little bit of sustenance to our family. And they also helped grow me as the gardener. I've heard Jess with Roots and Refuge talk about this before, and she puts it beautifully. She says, if you're new to growing a garden, understand in your first year that you should just set out to grow yourself. You are gonna probably get somewhat of a harvest. It may not be this big, huge, beautiful bounty like you expect. That comes with time, but really your main goal with gardening should be to grow yourself as a gardener. And I feel like I've done that. I've done that with these. This is actually the best carrot harvest that I've ever gotten. So clearly something is working. I'm figuring things out. What I learned this time that hopefully I'm able to pass on to you is that my carrots are definitely going to need more growing medium than just 5 or 6 inches of soil. So taking that knowledge and being able to apply that later gives a lot of value to these little carrots. And I'm definitely proud of them. Thanks for joining me in the garden today, guys. I'll see you again soon. I should take that from you.